Well, hello, my paranormal peeps, and welcome back to another Deep Woods Paranormal podcast. My name is Matt Harvey. I am the founder of the Deep Woods Paranormal podcast. I am also the founder of Deep Woods Paranormal. So today on the show, we are going to answer a bunch of people's questions. We, from time to time, get questions, and essentially, I would imagine that if one person is asking it, multiple people have that same question. So thank you to everybody who has, we've been getting quite a few comments. We've also been getting quite a few private messages with questions and requests to come out and check out people's locations. So thank you for that. We really appreciate the opportunity to come, number one, meet with you, but number two, get an opportunity to check out what you have going on at your properties or your businesses. So just want to put that out there first. So a lot of people keep asking me, what's going on with the UFO case. After almost 6 weeks of investigating, Amanda and I have decided to kind of close the case. At this point in time, there's just really not much else we can do. We spent a lot of time every Friday and Saturday night almost out at different locations chasing leads people have given us. We've also been, chasing reports, trying to go out and experience it for ourselves. And again, I am now in the process of putting that first show together. It was very challenging. And so we're going to be still doing some more interviews with people and stuff like that. Witnesses will not be interviewed. We will just basically have them give a written statement, and then we will either read that to you on the show, or we will essentially have it typed and maybe even read it to you there. So, yeah, I mean, very, very, very challenging, to have people be threatened and stuff like that and told to just be quiet. It just tells you how high up this possibly goes. I don't want to say corruption, but the cover up of what's really going on. Is it actually aliens? Is it actually some species from another world that's coming in and doing crazy operations and experiments on cows? Are they just trying to, I don't know what they're doing. I don't want to get into it too much because I don't want to get into the show too much. That'll all be on the show. Man and I've had multiple conversations about what's going on and what we think is actually happening. Is it anyways. All right, so we'll get into that when we get into the show. That show should air hopefully in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Hopefully, we're working on a lot of cases. We have a lot of irons with the fire. Bear with me, my voice is a little messed up right now. Sorry about that. All right, so that basically is that UFO case in a nutshell. We're still taking reports. We're still chasing leads. We're still working on that. We may do another show on it at a later time, but I just can't put any more time and effort into this at this point because we're just getting so much information, and I appreciate it. Please, please, please continue to send your reports in. Continue to let us know what you're experiencing or seeing or whatever. If you've heard about something, please keep sending all that to us because we will use it possibly in a later show. I am trying to figure out how to get to the point where I can, get a show put together, shoot in one weekend, get it put together the next week, and get it out to you guys on YouTube and Rumble and maybe some other platforms in the future within about a week's time. I'd like to have a show come out every week for you guys, so you can see our investigations. You can see we're not just podcasters, because we've been investigating the paranormal for 30 years. We started podcasting a couple of years ago, and so yeah, I mean, that's what's going on with that. In fact, Amanda and I were doing our 150th podcast the other day. We were working on it, so this is actually podcast 151. Doesn't really count towards 150, even though it's coming out at a different time. So the podcast 150 will be a very special podcast for us. We're going to go down memory lane and talk about some of our favorite cases and stuff like that. So I want to get on to your guys' questions and go from there. The first question: why do ghosts attack feet in the middle of the night while people are sleeping? Well, it's feet, hands. They pull sheets off sometimes. I mean, we've all seen that movie, that horror movie where somebody's sleeping in bed and their feet are hanging out, and you're like, oh no, you know something's gonna happen. They're gonna get pulled out of bed, or something's gonna touch their foot, or just yeah. That to me is pretty personal. Never had my foot touched, but I've had my hands touched before. And so I always wrap I keep my feet under the covers, but I always keep my hands also wrapped when I sleep most of the time. Even if it's hot, I'll find something to put over my hands so they don't touch me. And, because I get visitors in the middle of the night, mainly, and I'll talk about that in just a second. Mainly little kids. Gee, I wonder where they came from. But anyways, they're not they're not malevolent. They're not trying to hurt me. They're curious. They're coming in to see what's going on, especially when I start talking in the middle of the night to a client about ghosts and Bigfoots and stuff like that. So anyways, why do ghosts attack people in the middle of the night? I don't really think it's necessarily normally attacks. The videos you see where people are being pulled out of bed, or having their hands or their feet or other portions of their body touched, I would imagine is real. Those are like isolated cases. Let's put it that way. That might be more on the negative or demonic side of things, maybe poltergeist activity. And that's something attempting to keep people awake, to keep them scared at night. Demonic activity will focus in on like one person. Usually it picks one person and then starts to try and sleep deprive them. And I know because I've went through it. We'll try and mess with their sleep. In fact, I get my sleep messed with all the time. I'm constantly fighting these things. Way different situation for me now because I know what's going on. I know how to deal with it. But they know they're not allowed to mess with me, but they still try. So in the middle of the night, that's when we're at our most vulnerable. Essentially, you go to sleep, your eyes are closed, your hearing is kind of mumbled, your body's kind of mainly shut down. It's about 95% shut down. You're like, if you turn a computer on to sleep mode and you try to type in keys or whatever, it won't do anything because it's on sleep mode. And then if you finally hit the enter button or whatever it is enough times, it'll go, oh, okay, I'm sorry, what? But yeah, I mean, that's how we are. When we go to sleep, our subconscious is the only thing pretty much running in our bodies. We move here and there just to make sure that we're still alive and stuff like that. Our body wants to make sure we're still alive, and it controls our breathing and all that stuff. But spirits do visit us in the middle of the night to basically communicate with us, I think. I've talked about Amanda having conversations with somebody in the middle of the night and rolling over and seeing like a spirit standing there, and it's like, oh no, here we go. And as soon as they see me, see them, it's like, oh, he's awake. And then that can of worms gets opened up, and it's like, oh crap. And then they come over and they try and communicate with me. It's like, no, I am going back to sleep. I will communicate with you at another time. I don't care if you hang out or whatever, as long as you're not hurting anything. I have specific rules. You can't hurt anything. You can't scare anybody. You can't do anything malevolent. If you're going to be here, you either need to be quiet, or if you want to communicate and have fun, that's great. Like I tell the spirits behind, or the kids behind me, but whoever's attached to the dolls or anything else in this room, you're welcome to be here. You're welcome to cruise around and enjoy things. You can't hurt anybody. You can't, basically scare anybody. I don't want you messing with my dogs or my animals. And as you can see, Chance is very comfortably sleeping on the couch over there, the big white dog. But basically, nothing really happens here. I mean, I see things from time to time. When I start doing this podcast, as you can see in the door, it's the daytime. Sometimes you'll see a shadow peer around the corner. and I just contributed that to be a little kid, showing himself. Last night, I was having a conversation 2:30 in the morning, and sitting on the bed looking into the bathroom, and a shadow head pops around the corner, looks at me, realizes I saw it, and ducks back. And it's like, oh, okay, and that the activity picks up here whenever we're gonna get a case. When I start seeing activity going on in the house, um, things start to move on their own, or things, I start seeing shadow people, or I see apparitions, or whatever. I go, okay, when's the next case coming in, and what's it gonna be? And that sometimes it's Bigfoot too. Sometimes it's Bigfoot or UFO cases or whatever. Our house is pretty mellow. There isn't a lot of activity happening here. Most times it's dormant. I do have a camera just above me, facing down, covering this whole room and into the hallway, and it's motion activated, so it knows I'm here right now. It's already sent me a couple alerts. But if I were to stand up and walk out of the office, it would trigger. And it triggers for animals, it triggers for people, and triggers for other things. It also picks up, it picks up noises. So essentially, this room is covered for paranormal activity. One of these days, I might try and live stream that and let people watch. I got to get these dolls. Oops, keep going the wrong way. These dolls here put somewhere. I have to put them in a place where they're going to be comfortable. There's just too much crap back on that table. What you can't see is down below me, or behind me, is there's a stack of gear, cameras and ghost hunting gear and Bigfoot hunting gear and all that stuff stacked up behind me. Anyways, so I think ghosts, if they do come and touch your foot or touch your hand or try and talk to you, they're just trying to communicate with you. I know it's scary as hell to wake up and there's somebody standing there, and then all of a sudden you finally wake your kind of self up, and a second later, and you're like, oh crap, what the heck? And then they're gone, or something yanks on your foot in the middle of the night, or pulls the sheets off of you, or comes and tries to pull your hand and pull you up out of bed, which has happened to me several times. As a kid, I used to have my pillow pulled out from under my head while I was sleeping, and wake up with my pillow down, on the ground. I had a bunk bed, and then it always would, I'd look down, it would be there. Then I'd look back down, and it wouldn't be there. It'd be, then I'd turn around and look down at the bottom of the ladder, and that's where it would be. It had moved. And then, that creepy little girl's laugh. That's not even close to what it sounded like. But, that's I don't think they're really necessarily trying to attack. I think they're more or less trying to get your attention. Maybe they're trying to get you to get up because there's something you need to see. Maybe they need help. Maybe they're trying to get you to go in a different direction so that you're not, because something's going to happen. Sometimes spirits will direct you in a different direction. Sometimes, you just end up somewhere. You're like, why am I here? How did I get here? Your subconscious all of a sudden takes over, and you kind of drift into a driving sleep or a walking sleep, and maybe you're coming down the hall to go to the bathroom, and you end up in the kitchen. You know what I mean? And you're like, wait a minute, I was going to the bathroom. Why am I in the kitchen? And you look around, you're like, okay, what's going on here? And then something happens. You're like, oh, okay, that's why I was supposed to be here. But yeah, I think they manipulate us. And I've talked about this before. I think they manipulate our brain waves to be able to see them, hear them, feel them. They pull energy out of the air, which leaves that cold spot that you feel, and stuff like that. And I think that's just them trying to manifest in some way. And if you don't understand what a manifest means, it just means to show themselves, or move something, leave a voice on an audio recorder. Maybe you actually hear it, which is called a disembodied voice, or maybe you get a video of something moving, or you just see something moving. That's just all manifestation. Okay, so why do ghosts attach themselves to items? And she put doll ? And she's talking about, I can't even point to them, these guys back here and other items on that table. Uh, I think that spirits sometimes, I mean, let's talk about humans for a second. Humans are very attached to different things. Uh, it might be your car. Like I had a little red for a long time. It was just a little Jeep. I forget what it was, but it was a smaller Jeep. Beautiful little car. But I mean, voices would I would have the radio off, and a voice would come through the radio and say something, and I could never understand what it said. That's why I called her a Little Red. But I think the lady that owned her previously possibly died, and she got turned into the dealership, probably sold to the dealership because whoever, whatever family members, if she had any, didn't need a vehicle. And so essentially she attached herself to the car because she really liked that car. And it had like 15,000 miles in it. It was a 2012 or something like that. And it was like a 10-year-old car with 15,000 miles or 20,000 miles, whatever had on it. I think it might have 18,000. I think I put another 20,000 on it or something like that when I turned it in for the truck here. But strange things would happen. Doors would open and close in the car. Things would move in the car. She would talk through the radio, and I could just feel her presence every time I drove her. And I mean, she was just attached to that car. She must have just loved it, or maybe something, that car had never been in an accident or anything. Maybe she passed away in the car. I don't know. But like the dolls behind me here, it could be that whoever owned these dolls, there's a lot of people that collect dolls and they just love them. They're like their kids. And so, they spend their whole life collecting these prized dolls. And when they pass away, part of their energy stays attached to it, because we're just energy, if you think about it. Like I said, our brain's like a computer, and the rest of our bodies just like runs on electrical currents. We eat food to basically be able to create energy for ourselves, and and basically water and other things are like the fluids of our body, like an engine would have. But basically, we're just energy. Everything's just energy. So, if I go, let's do it this way. I witnessed Chris Fleming do this on the Queen Mary. If you know Chris Fleming, he's a very well-known psychic medium, and he was on there. And this is when I met Jay and Grant and all this other stuff of ghost hunters or taps. You've seen the TV shows. Anyways, he was on there and he was trying to prove a point, and he went over to a spot and he just yelled and screamed and blah 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 at this one spot. Then he got up and walked away and went back to the podium. And he said, "Okay, is there anybody sensitive here?" And a couple of people raised their hand. He said, "Okay, walk over to that. What do you feel?" And they felt anger. They felt his frustration, and that energy got left on that location. The Queen Mary is very, very haunted, supposedly. I've witnessed many things on that ship. I've investigated that ship, I don't know how many times, 100 times maybe. I've been all over that ship, up and down through the, exterior and the lower parts of the ship and stuff like that. And we've had a lot of cool experiences on that ship. So, I think that over time, we had a client where she called me and she didn't really have a case, but she was just really concerned because she had just walked down the hallway, and I guess she was doing laundry or whatever she was doing. She came down and sat down in a chair, and she looked back up and she saw herself walk down the hallway. And she's like, "I'm alive. I know I'm alive. My husband's sitting right here. He can tell you I'm alive." But I just saw myself walk down the hallway. And then I told her, "Don't worry about it. It's just residual. It's just an implant of energy on that location." She's lived in the house for 30 some odd years, and she goes up and down the hallway all the time. It's just an imprint on history. It's just a rerun like on TV. And that's sometimes what you get with these things too. Some of these spirits or just energies implanted on objects, be it a house, be it an item, be it a car, be it a whatever, land. A lot of spirits, if they're buried on a property, they will stay with that property. If they're intelligent and they just have an attachment to that land, maybe something traumatic happened to them, they will stay there until you basically go and tell them it's okay to leave, or help them with whatever issue they're having. And sometimes that takes a lot of work. You have to go in there and you have to do EVP sessions or spirit box sessions. Any way you can communicate with them, use K2s, whatever device you're using, to try and figure out what's going on and how you can help them. And then they can be at peace and then they can move on. So, that's why sometimes things attach themselves to things as well. They know they're going to a certain location. They know there's a certain person that probably is a little more, I hate the word sensitive or psychic. They're a little more open to the possibility of them being there. And sometimes they'll establish a communication with that person in some way, shape, or form. And then that person will, whoever it is, and whether it's me or somebody else, will start to try and communicate with them, hopefully, and try and get to the bottom of why things are happening. And, that's what we do. And then hopefully come to a resolution where that spirit can move on or be at rest, or if they're going to stay, they can be at peace and they can just enjoy being there. So, anyways, I think that's part of why. We could deep dive into why spirits attach themselves to things forever. I could be here talking for days, probably, like me. We can go through so many different examples. But anyways, so somebody asked, what is a shadow person? That's pretty complicated as well. None of these answers are real. I can't just answer these right off the bat. There's a lot of theory. You got to remember, this is all theory. Yeah, I'll have to take this with a grain of salt. Spirits are theory at this point, even though, a majority of us know that they're real. We've experienced something that we can say that could be anything else but a ghost. Basically, I just think that a shadow person, in theory, could be a lot of things. It could be a ghost that can't seem to manifest itself completely, show itself like a normal, to look like us. Maybe they don't have enough energy. Maybe they don't know how to do it. I've always been told by other mediums and other stuff that spirits have to learn. Once you've left this realm and you've gone to whatever is next, if you decide to come back or you decide to stay, you have to learn how to do things again. It's like becoming a baby and having to learn. And as you get older, the older the spirit is, the more intelligent they seem to get. The more aware of the situations they seem to get, and the more they can communicate with you. So the older spirits seem to be more able to communicate with us, if you will. I think they're able to manifest themselves better. Now, that's not to say that a brand new spirit that just passed away isn't able to do all that stuff. But I think that the older spirits are more able to do it, maybe on a longer period of time. For a longer period of time, they're able to do more things, like move things, maybe create a disembodied voice. Also, maybe they're able to figure out how to use the audio recorder to create an EVP, or the video recorder to show themselves, or to talk onto the device, or manipulate the device. How to manipulate a spirit box to create a voice, and stuff like that. Because these spirits, they don't have a physical body anymore. They don't have a physical spirit. A physical voice anymore. So for them to create that, they have to figure out how to manipulate the sounds in the air, if you will, the sounds the devices are making, which isn't very much. Digital audio recorders don't make a lot of noise. A lot of people say that the old tape recorders were the best way to record EVPs because they could use that clinking and clanking you hear from the tapes going around, and the little mechanisms inside of the recorder to manipulate that audio and create a voice. I don't know if that's true or not, but it kind of does make sense. This day and age, I mean, these digital voice recorders don't make very much noise at all. Either do the video cameras are much quieter, they're also much smaller, and so it's probably a little bit more difficult for them to figure out how to manipulate these things. Now I could be wrong about that, but I'm just saying. Anyways, a shadow person, there's a lot of theories. Um, could they be an interdimensional being? Could they be a time traveler? Could they be crossing across from another dimension? You know, so I mean, this is all going down a huge rabbit hole. But is it a ghost? Like I said, is it just a spirit not able to manifest themselves to look like you and me? Maybe they only have enough energy to show themselves as a silhouette, a black silhouette. And there's a lot of other theories of what they are. Are they demons? Are they thises? Are they that's? Are they aliens? Are they whatever? Are they just some interstellar, being that basically is monitoring things? Are they angelic? Who knows? 100%. Me, I think that most of them I think it's mainly a manifestation of a human being trying to maybe cross across from. Let's just put it this way: if I take a piece of like a book, and there's layers, there's different pages, which creates layers, right? And I want to go from one page to the next, I have to turn that page. But imagine, I don't know how exactly how dimensions work, but I'd imagine they're like stacked next to each other. There might be one dimension here, one dimension here, one dimension here. And to get through that, you have to go through each page. And so to push your way through into that next dimension I don't know what it would take to do that, but must be really hard to do. Or it could be really easy for them. I have no idea. For us, it'd probably be really hard. Who knows what science has accomplished at this point? If they are able to go through different dimensions, they're not saying anything yet. But anyways, yeah. So I think that's possibly what a shadow person could be. My personal opinion is that they're just spirits that are just basically maybe they're not necessarily here as the person that passed away, but maybe they're watching. Somebody told me, oh yeah, they're future ghost hunters. One, oh, okay. And that kind of goes into time travel and stuff like that. But they're mainly just observing usually. But shadow people, there's different types of shadow people. There's shadow people that attack people. And I think that's more on the demonic side. I think demonic entities sometimes will show themselves as a shadow or whatever, or a silhouette until they get closer because they want to scare people. That's what their whole theory, that's what their whole thing is. They want to scare you into submission. They want you to do their bidding. And so if you're afraid of the shadows or you're afraid of whatever, that's how they're going to manifest. If you're afraid of clowns, they might manifest as a clown. You've seen it in the horror movies. But anyways, so there's, like I said, there's a lot of different theories on shadow people. Again, I could go into this for hours and hours and hours, but I have a few more questions I need to get to, and then I'll show you guys some cool stuff in just a second here. Okay. Have you had any activity with the haunted dolls? Yes, we have had activity. When Kaylee was here, my niece, she's 13, I think, maybe 14. She was coming out of the bathroom, walking into the hallway, and I think some of the spirits attached to these dolls behind me I think they are her age, and so essentially they may have, something said something to her, and she turned and looked in the office, and she quickly came out and sat down on the couch, and you could tell she was afraid. And everybody's like, well, what was that? I'm like, okay. And that's not the first time Kaylee's had stuff trying to communicate with her. If you've seen our cemetery video where she went with us, she did have some. She did experience the kids. The kids were there, and they seemed to come forward because she was there. So in the future, she may come with us. We want to be very careful with her. She's just a young, impressionable young lady, and we don't want to. Number one, scare her away from doing this. We don't want her to have an experience where she's like, I'm never going to do this again, and she turns herself off. I think she's a little bit sensitive, if you will. She seems to see and she seems to be intuitive and picking up on things. My wife's side of the family is like that. They're very intuitive and very sensitive to spirits. They don't necessarily see them or talk to them, but they definitely can feel them. Like Amanda can walk into a room and feel if there's something there. Anyways, so yeah, I've had that. Like I said last night, the shadow in the bathroom, which wasn't very tall. Again, if you're looking into the doorway, if you're watching the video, the video podcast, if you're looking at the doorway right across from the TV, you can see the light switch. It's a little easier to see during the day. And that basically the bottom of the light switch, or the bottom square part of that light switch is, that's about as tall as I've seen the shadow that hangs out in the hallway. Now, I have gotten a male voice from in there as well. I mean, I was doing an EV when I was doing the podcast. I was listening back, and there's a male voice that says something about the hallway. I can't remember. I have it recorded. One of these days, we'll sit down and I'll continue to go through these audio podcasts and pull out EVPs, and we'll take a listen to some of the stuff that's come through. Some of it's pretty clear. So yeah, so that happened. This has happened. The shadows happened in the hallway. On the last video podcast, I think one of the dolls moved, and then I saw the shadow in the other room. I've had a little girl come into our bedroom, or a couple little kids come into our room at night. I feel that they feel like they're more comfortable probably in a room with us. And, I tell them they need to stay in the office. This is where they need to stay. I don't want them in the rest of the house, but I don't mind if they venture out every once in a while and explore the house, as long as I said they follow the rules and they don't hurt anything or damage anything or try to scare anybody or scare the animals. We're good. So I've also had an EVP come through of the with the spectacles of a woman, and then Amanda had a dream about a woman in a theater. So those are theater spectacles. They're like binoculars. They would use those to basically zoom in so they could see the play a little bit better, especially if they're up high or whatever. But I don't know if she's still attached to that, or if she just basically, that was her goodbye or whatever. But anyways, there's a lot of things attached to these dolls and other things back here, like this dragon on my right here. Basically, we got that from an estate sale. A gentleman had passed away, and we think that maybe he's attached to that. So we haven't had any activity from him, but I do think that he's, there's some energy. Let's just put it that way. There's some energy attached to that. This Raggedy Ann doll, if you're looking at it, we were in a house where we were in the Pile house, OP Pile house, and we went up to the room where the kids had died of disease, and they were between 4 and 8 or something like that, or 4 and 10. I could be wrong. Feel free to comment down below if you know. But anyways, she may have picked up on an entity. Some energy may have been transferred to her, and stuff like that. So the Elmo doll and the other little doll there, I don't think those are haunted. Those are more props at this point. If you push on their stomachs, they will talk. And the whole theory behind them is if we go into a location where there are kids of the age that would be interested in toys, we could take those and ask them to push on the stomach or make them talk. And so that might document some activity. But like I said, a lot of these dolls here seem to have some kind of energy to them. I've picked them up from all different places. I've picked up, I think, 8 of them now. At some point in time, as long as I'm sure that they're okay and they won't hurt anybody or do anything, they may find other homes. But until then, basically, they're going to stay here, and we're going to continue to monitor them. What I want to do one of these days, once I get this table cleaned off behind me and find new homes for a lot of stuff, what happened was we got a new printer. It's very, one of those bigger printers that does everything, copy, scan, fax, all that stuff for Amanda's business. She does Poshmark. She's selling clothes because she's losing weight so fast. She's just, she has a lot of clothes that are pretty much brand new. She's just selling that stuff on Poshmark. And she's got a lot of really nice shoes and other things that she's selling at a pretty good discount. So if you're interested in that, feel free to contact me and I'll send you over her information. So yeah, the dolls seem to be active. I've had numerous occasions where I've had contact with little kids in the house, which is cool. The little kids seem to be fine. They're not project themselves or anything else. They seem to be well behaved. They're just kind of curious. And when they figure out I can see them, they usually are like, uh-oh. And sometimes, I've had a conversation. I've asked them, can I help you? Do you need anything? And then they just kind of turn and walk away. So, anyways, what are we currently working on? We have 2 Bigfoot cases, actually 3. We have Joe's that has been going on for like 3 years. We got to get back up there, but unfortunately, it's just like 110 degrees up there, and it's just because of the humidity. It's 102 or 3 degrees on his property right now, and the humidity is at like 100%. So it's like 110, 100 plus degrees. Even at night, it's in the high 90s, and then it feels like it's 100 and something. So, I don't mind going out there and sweating my butt off. But there's not a lot of activity usually during the day or in the night in the summer out there. We get some sparse tree knocks, but they don't really act, they're not really active at this point. They'll be more active probably August, September-ish, when they come into what I believe is their mating season. If you have Bigfoots on your property or you go to places where there's activity and you're actively investigating Bigfoots, August through November seems to be the breeding time. That's when you get the screams, you get the tree knocks, you get the more aggressive behaviors by Bigfoots, rocks being thrown at you or thrown at homes or whatever. Trailers getting rocked, all kinds of stuff like that. It seems to happen between August and November, and then from end of November through February and March, it kind of dies down, and then March through about this time, it gets active again, and then during the summer, it seems to be really late in the night when they come out. 3-4 o'clock in the morning, and they're usually on active for 4 or 5 hours. Usually by 7, 8, 9, not 3 or 4 hours, a couple hours. Usually by 7, 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, you don't hear from them again. You don't hear anything. Not to say they aren't out. They could still be out, but they're extremely quiet, and they don't want to be known. They're just doing their thing, and it's really hard to communicate with them. So we're still working in the Sam Houston National Forest with David, trying to wrap up that show as well. That'll be show number 2. And then we're working on a 3rd show with a client that has Bigfoots on his property. He has possible UFO activity, and then he has ghosts. And we're going real slow on this case. We will be documenting it more as we go. He wants to, once that show comes out, we'll probably start putting out more content from his property as we go. His property reminds me a lot of Joe's, because Joe's property has his family members that haunt the property, and that's all well and great. But when you're trying to video you're trying to record on video a Bigfoot, and they're messing with your video camera, turning your camera off, turning it on, because they want attention. It makes it a little difficult. They're lighting up the K2. We have to bring K2s to Joe's at all times because I forget his name. His uncle is very active and really likes it when we're up there, and he's very friendly, but he communicates with us. He likes to manipulate our gear. He drains our batteries. It's like, no. We're trying to do Bigfoot research, but he wants attention. It's like he's not doesn't hurt anything. He just likes to manipulate gear and stuff. And so, anyways, so those 3 cases, we're working on Joe's still. We're still working on with David in the Sam Houston National Forest. We're trying to go into places where people don't normally go. We're trying to get a little more isolated. But again, it is so hot out right now. It's extremely hard to, be out there for more than a couple hours at a time because you're getting dehydrated and all this other stuff's going on. It's just so hot. And it just makes you not want to do anything. Also, the camera gear can't handle 110-degree heat. It overheats. The batteries drain, that messes with the electronics inside the devices, the video cameras and stuff like that. So I have not figured out how to keep the cameras a little cooler at this point. So we have to kind of do later hours where we're out recording. So normally during the summer, we do more investigations into ghosts and stuff like that. We're inside and it's cooler. So that's kind of what we're doing. We will kind of do maybe a show on the dolls themselves here. And once I get this organized, I got to go through the closet of doom back there. I've got 30 years worth of gear just sitting in there. A lot of it I haven't seen in years, but it's just in totes and just sitting in there and taking up space. And I got to go through and purge. So that'll be fun. And then once I do that, I can kind of move some of this other stuff off this table, and I can set up. I need that for charging gear and stuff. That was the whole premises of getting it and having meetings at that table with Amanda and other people. But yeah, I've got to get that out of there and get this area cleaned up behind me. Okay, so that's what we're currently working on. Have you ever seen a Bigfoot? Yes, I've seen multiple Bigfoots. Different locations, different states, different times of the day, different colors, different sizes and shapes. Like I've talked about that multiple times. I think they're like humans, even though one may be, several of them might be brown. They're all different shapes. Yeah, all different shapes and sizes. Excuse me. And so the more I've done the research, the more sightings I've had. I've been actually pretty lucky. I've walked into places where they're actively doing their thing, and so I've been lucky enough to experience a lot of that. I've had Joe's Camp, I've had Black Star Canyon, where I kind of screwed that up at the end, but they were still showing themselves more in a threatening way, as I had done something I shouldn't have, but I kind of crossed the line with them. And then just other locations, I've had several encounters at several other locations too, but like I said, I've been lucky enough to be at the right place at the right time. So let's see, have you analyzed the hair samples from the possible Bigfoot hairs? We are working on that. I kind of showed you guys this last time, this digital microscope we just got. I am in the process of charging it up. So you can see, you put the hairs under here, and then essentially this microscope will, you can change the angle of it. It can plug into the computer. So I can actually visually see what I'm looking at. And it does have a plug-in here, and then an adapter that goes into the computer. So I can take this, whether I'm, in the field, out in the forest, or whether I'm here at the house, I can plug it in and look. It does come off. so I can sit here and take, move it around at different angles that this won't allow me to do, and get different viewpoints at the hair samples or whatever I'm looking at. Who knows what all we're going to find out there. We have that tooth that I'm very interested in taking a better look at as well. And we can record that so we can document it. And then if we do find hair samples that we think could be Bigfoot, and we are a little bit more clear, it's not just like, oh, I think this is a hair sample. We found this hair sample out there. We need to make sure, I was just reading an article earlier, that it has the characteristics of being Bigfoot hairs. So anyways, that's what's going on. That's what we're doing. Thank you all for your questions. If you have questions, feel free to leave a comment down below, or all of our information is basically in the description. My email, my cell phone. You can call or text me, which a lot of people are doing now, which is awesome. I enjoy talking to people. You can go on our Facebook. You can message us through Facebook. You can go on our website. You can basically go on there and type a message in, and it'll send us a message. So yeah, I mean, we're very accessible to you guys. I know a lot of people are afraid of ridicule. Please don't be afraid of ridicule. I mean, if you guys tell us, you want to keep us to keep your information private, we will. Most of these questions came from people that didn't want to be known. That's why I'm not saying it's from X, Y, or Z. I'm just basically reading the questions because people don't really want, people to know that they're curious about this stuff, which is kind of sad. Especially out here, if you say the word Bigfoot, you either get people that their ears, perk up and they go, "Oh, I've seen one," and blah blah blah. And then you get the other half of the people that are like, "Oh, dude, you're nuts. They're not. There's no Bigfoots out here. Bigfoots aren't real. I'm a hunter. I've been hunting for 40 years out here. I've never seen one." And I respect both sides of that. Like I always say, you have to have an encounter, and this could be for anything. It could be ghosts, UFOs, aliens, whatever, demons, angels, whatever. You have to have your own experience where you can say it can't be anything else but. And so yeah, but yeah, I just wanted to answer this question for you guys. If you have questions, please feel free to contact us. If you've seen something, heard something, experienced something, and you want to share it with us, again, there is no judgment. If you'd like to be on the podcast, again, this is like a non-judgmental channel. We are more of a scientific team. I try and keep it scientific, but, being sensitive myself, or open, or whatever you want to call it, psychic, medium, whatever, I've seen both sides of it. And so, like I said, we're not judgmental. We're not going to judge you. We're not going to tell you you're wrong or whatever. Everybody has a theory about things. And at this point, whether you're a believer or non-believer, nobody's either proved or disproved anything 100%. So until somebody can 100% prove that ghosts are real, or Bigfoots are real, or UFOs are real, or they aren't, it's just going to be an open topic. So, all right, guys. Well, we thank you guys for listening, and thank you for watching. Thank you for continuing to support our channel. Thank you to all the people over on Rumble. We are kicking butt and taking names over there. Thank you for all the new subscriptions, all the new comments. Thank you to our YouTube people who are subscribing as well. We're almost at 1,300 on YouTube, and we're almost at 600 on Rumble. And we're just gaining new followers like crazy. I cannot wait to get these shows out. I just want to make sure we have like 4 or 5. We need to wrap up the current cases we're working on, and then once we get this stuff wrapped up, we will start to release these. I'm sorry that it's taking so long to get them out. I know we haven't posted a lot of investigations or short videos or anything recently. I need to start shooting some shorts at these locations so you guys can see what we're doing and get a little, just a little taste of what's to come. But yeah, so we're just actively investigating. We have, like I said, a lot of irons in the fire. We have probably about 7 or 8 people that want us to work with them on different types of cases, from ghosts to UFOs to Bigfoots to other things. I am working on putting that I don't know what you want to call it, a forum or something where sensitive people can come on and communicate with each other and stuff like that. I'm just not exactly sure how I'm going to do that. My normal day job, which I transport railroad crew around, that's changing too. So I don't know what's going to happen with that in the next couple of weeks. Whoa, what was that? I don't know. Something just walked across the doorway there towards the bathroom. And it was white. It wasn't black. That was weird. Okay, so watch back for that. Anyways, I'm just telling myself to watch back for that. Maybe I can see it. All right, guys. Well, you guys have a good one. I appreciate you. And we will catch you on the next one.